Chargers left tackle Joe Alt has a high ankle sprain, and the big question now is if he will have to go on injured reserve, because if he has to miss 4 or more games, it'll be a devastating blow to the Chargers offense.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to all the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Disaster struck, and unfortunately, Joe Alt is going to miss some time with a high ankle sprain. Unfortunately, we don't know how long that's going to be. We don't know if he's going to get put on IR, but it is a big problem that the Chargers absolutely have to solve. And could be that solution be Jamaree Salyer moving over to left tackle. He did a very good job in his rookie season. Maybe they tried to run that back. And one thing we definitely know for certain is that the Chargers have to get this running game going if they want to be able to put out a good offense.
I think it's more than just getting it going. They kind of got it going, right? It's committing to it and leaning into it, which you think for Greg Roman would not take much. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It is a buy or sell Tuesday, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions, and especially after a disastrous loss like the one that we just saw the Chargers have, there's going to be a lot of overreactions that follow it, including just the general the sky is falling part of it, which it's hard not to feel like that when you lose to an 0-3 team as a 3-0 team. That being said, you probably would have been surprised if I told you the Chargers were 3-0 without Rashawn Slater, right? But here, there they were. Now, a lot harder when you're also missing your other great tackle, Joe Alt, who left the last game with a high ankle sprain. Ian Rappaport says the MRI has confirmed that it's a high ankle sprain for Joe Alt. Sources say they'll seek various opinions to determine how long he's out, but expected to be several weeks. Several weeks feels damning there to me a little bit, but it makes the first buy or sell today a very important one, David, which is this. Buy or sell, Joe Alt is headed for a trip on IR.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't like the way everything sounds when it comes to this report here, several weeks. And I know Joe Alt definitely doesn't want to be out that long, but I think, they have to think about his future and to make sure that he's able to stay healthy out there on the football field. So begrudgingly, I have to think that I have to buy it. I do believe, unfortunately, they are going to put him on IR, probably just in an effort to protect him from himself and to make sure that he fully heals, because high ankle sprains are a finicky type of injury. It takes different amounts of time for different people, but you want to make sure that you're 100% ready to get back on the field before you decide to do that.
Obviously, if you rush him back and then the first game he injures it and injures it worse, right now you lose him for the whole season, that'd be devastating. At the same time, man, missing him for 4 weeks, it will be devastating in its own right. And we'll know in the next couple of days. But I just think that, for comparison with Khalil Mack, Rappaport said he was expected back in a few weeks. This time he's saying several weeks for Joe Alt. Obviously, Khalil Mack is on IR right now. And I think that if there's any chance he only misses 3 games, obviously you hold him off IR because it's worth that roster spot the next 3 weeks to have him back for a big game that you have coming up. I believe it'll be the Vikings game on Thursday Night Football. So, man, it's really hard to say. I would have to buy it right now, and I just think it's a really tough break because the Chargers are getting set to play the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Colts, and the Vikings. That's a pretty tough stretch. I mean, especially the Dolphins beating the Jets on Monday Night Football. They don't look like as much of a layup as they once did. Vikings have Brian Flores, who's really a mastermind defensive type of guy that's going to exploit your issues in the offensive line. Commanders were just in the NFC Championship game, and the Colts have been one of the best teams in football through 4 weeks. So it's a tough stretch. Joe Alt, according to Diana Rossini, is getting second opinions, which means probably he doesn't like the first opinion, was kind of how I took that, and I don't know what that is, but it's also just concerning as well because Mekhi Becton's still in the protocol the concussion protocol a week after he was put in it, right? So it's tough. If he has to go to IR, we'll cross that bridge then. But today I do want to go over kind of what the backup plans are and where the Chargers go from here, because I mean, it's almost impossible to think he's going to play this week. Maybe impossible for it to be 2 weeks, but it seems like this can be, just from everything everyone's saying online, okay, anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to a few months. So it's really hard to say right now. Hopefully we'll learn more in the next couple of days. Let's go to this next buy or sell here from Ark, who says, buy or sell, it is now more important to trade for offensive line help than pass rush help. Yeah, I'm buying that. And honestly, David, it probably always was.
It absolutely always was. That's why we've been pounding the table for them to add more offensive linemen all offseason long. And I think one thing that you brought up to me is the pass rush really isn't in that bad of shape. I mean, they racked up 6 sacks. Obviously, 4 of those came from Tuli Peloton, who had a breakout game, but they also had half a sack from Caleb Murphy and the other half a sack from Derwin James, and Justin Herbert was able to get on the board with the sack as well. So that is fantastic news. And also, Khalil Mack is eligible to come off of IR in advance of the Colts game on October the 19th. So that's only a few weeks away, and hopefully, they can continue to perform well on the defensive side, manufacture some pass rush, and they definitely need more help on the offensive line. I feel like this is a situation where it is dire. They have multiple guys that we don't know when they're going to be back on the field. Obviously, very important cogs to the machine. Mekhi Becton, Joe Alt. They have to get guys that are at least somewhat decent football players. And unfortunately, when you look across the offensive line for the Chargers, it's kind of hard to point out anyone that's providing quality football play.
Yeah, without Joe Alt, I mean, especially with the way the game ended last week in that specific line, it's hard to pick out one single good player that you can actually stand on and be like, hey, this is a guy who's doing everything he can, or, is the right option to have here at this point. I mean, basically you have 5 question marks out there right now. And to a certain extent, you can't replace everyone. But I do think that, if somebody is willing to give you an offensive lineman, you have to be calling every team, right? You have to be doing everything you possibly can. I know everyone's talking about Cam Robinson, getting traded to the Browns from the Texans, who was a healthy scratch on a very bad Texans offensive line, which, take that how you will. But there were also reports that the Chargers, it was between Austin Deculus and Cam Robinson as far as who they were going to trade the Texans for. They ended up going with Deculus. Hindsight's 2020. Basically, the buck on Cam Robinson, who's been, I think this is his 4th team now in 2 years. Better pass blocker than a run blocker. Austin Deculus, the opposite. But Cam Robinson, obviously veteran experience. But a reason why he was a healthy scratch, I'm sure. A reason why he's getting traded for a late pick swap. But yeah, if you can ask me right now, having seen what Austin Deculus is, I would say, well, let me try the other guy, because this one obviously wasn't it. And I would sacrifice some run blocking for pass blocking in a heartbeat. And that should be the main focus. But the good news is the Chargers did work out some offensive linemen on Monday, David. Per Daniel Popper, per The Wire, Chargers worked out Gottlieb, Ayedze, McClendon Curtis, Michael Dunn, and Jalen Thomas. And I guess the bottom line of that is, okay, these are practice squad type of players. These are not guys who you want out there starting for your football team.
Yeah, no, this is for Alex Katzen, who covers the Chargers, a fantastic follow on X or Twitter. Yedze, 1 pressure on 61 career preseason snaps. Curtis had 8 pressures and 93 career preseason snaps. Dunn is the only guy on the list that actually has some kind of NFL starting experience. He said he was a reasonable spot starter in 22 to 23, but he had a pretty bad year last year, switching around from center and guard. None of these guys are moving the needle for anybody. It's definitely not the level of player that you want to be able to add to this football team. But as we've said multiple times, offensive linemen don't get traded. They don't get moved. It's extremely hard to be able to go out there and get a quality player to add to your group this far into the season. These are the type of players that are available, and obviously they're all available for a reason.
But somehow Robinson's been traded twice in season the last couple of years. So never say never. But I think the key word there is quality, right? Trying to find something. And credit for, not leaving any stone unturned. I do think it's interesting that 3 of those 4 guys you just brought up, or we've just brought up, are all guards, not tackles. Only one of them is listed as a tackle. Michael Dunn, 701 career snaps. A lot of that is an extra offensive lineman. Sure. I mean, I think the thing is at the end of the day, you have to be trying out everyone because you have to see if there's something out there that's better than what you have now. I wish the list was more inspiring. When we figure out what is happening with Joe Alt, we'll get a little bit deeper and see if there's even more names they could potentially scour or other teams' reserves they could try to pick up. But I think the biggest overreaction going on right now is that the Chargers season is over. So we're going to talk about that and some potential in-house shuffling the Chargers could do on the offensive line, like Jamari Sawyer at left tackle. Andre James, should he get a chance at center now? All that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. You know the saying, look good, feel good? The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. And that's where Mizzen and Main come in. Mizzen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. I will tell you exactly what I use my Mizzen and Main shirt for. Every wedding I ever go to, and when everyone out there is just absolutely sweating grossly, which I have done at many weddings, I am not, because it's the one shirt I consistently wear. You can see me in every wedding photo that I'm ever in because of that performance fabric, because it keeps you cool. I love that you can go from the office to dinner if you have to, or even out on the golf course if you have to, and still feel comfortable all day. It's the feel of athletic wear, but the look of professional menswear. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-I-A-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to play. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. I really like live betting, getting a sense of something, being able to see odds spike, and maybe you're like, oh, I don't necessarily know if the game is going that way, or I've seen this team blow this game 100 times. I don't care what the lead is. I'm going in on the other team. But the odds are already out for next weekend's game against the Commanders, and somewhat surprisingly, the Chargers are opening up as 3-point favorites, and I hope, since it's David's birthday week, that they can win it in his honor and can cover those 3 points. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, guys, we still have more to get into on this Buy or Sell Tuesday. Lots of overreactions and storylines that are flying around, but I want to stick with this offensive line here because I think we got several of them that are basically, is the season over, right? FFI says buy or sell this season. I mean, that's just kind of where things are at right now. So I want the buy or sell to be this, David. Buy or sell, the Chargers offensive line is bad enough as it's currently constituted to tank the Chargers season.
Absolute buy. I mean, there's no question about it because the proof is in the pudding. In week one, where it was Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton out there, and they also had kind of the element of surprise, Justin Herbert only got hit 3 times. You want to know how many times he's been hit in the last 3 games? 38 times. 12 in week 2, 14 in week 3, 12 in week 4. That's just unacceptable. Justin Herbert is a super tough dude. We've seen it. We've seen him play through numerous injuries, including fractured rib cartilage, which would take out a lot of lesser men. But even Justin Herbert is a human being, meaning if he continues to get abused at this level, he is going to get hurt. Yep. The Chargers absolutely cannot allow this to happen because if that guy is not on the field, then yes, the season will be over.
Yeah, and it just would be such a shame to kind of waste this 3-0 start on a team that, you know, basically you kind of already knew going into the season, especially post Rashawn Slater injury, that like if Joe Alt goes down, you're toast because you're already on your, you know, second left tackle. Now you're on your third left tackle and your second right tackle. And just to add on to that, I mean, per Daniel Popper, True Media has Herbert pressured on 46 dropbacks the last 2 weeks, most in the league. The next closest is Joe Flacco with 35. Nate Tice, 50 pressures on 95 dropbacks over the last 2 weeks, a scorching 52.6 pressure rate per next gen stats. It's unsurvivable. It's apocalyptic. It's code red. Sound all of the alarms. I don't think it's an overreaction that they have to play better. I mean, they can play better. There's an argument out there that they probably just played 2 of the 3 best defensive fronts that they're going to play all season. So it might not always look like that. But like, for example, Miami Dolphins, you have them in a couple weeks. A bad team probably. At the same time, they have a few edge rushers who are absolutely going to be a nightmare for you, right? Like, and that's the thing is like other teams can use this to totally derail your offensive game plan. If Joe Alt is back in 2 weeks and Becton stays out there, they can survive. But unless they get much better play than what they've had the last 2 weeks, one which was covered up by Justin Herbert Super Saiyan mode, it's not sustainable, and they'll miss the playoffs straight up if they can't get better than what they were, because it's very hard to make a quarterback as good as Justin Herbert be as bad as the one you saw last week. But let's get to this next one here. Buy or sell, if Mekhi Becton comes back, they should put Jamari Sawyer at left tackle. Dave, this is something we've tinkered with, something that Jim Harbaugh, when asked at his press conference, wouldn't really commit to Deculus or trying Jamari Sawyer at left tackle. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I buy it. I think it's something that we saw in Jamari Sawyer's rookie season where he had very little prep to be able to go out there. Obviously, he played it in college and played it at a quality level, and also played guard in college. In his rookie season, 989 snaps at left tackle, gave up 5 sacks, 46 pressures, and only 10 QB hits, and that was in 14 games. So I think that's solid work, and I think that would be an improvement over who is playing left tackle for the Chargers right now. Obviously, is a guy who they traded a conditional pick for in Austin Deculus, and we've seen that, and it looks a little bit reminiscent of a revolving door, and that's just not something that you can have out there to protect Justin Herbert's blind side. They need somebody who is at least competent on the left side at tackle. And to me, I do believe Jamari Sawyer is a competent tackle, and I would like to see that. I think it's just something that, at least at this point in time, you saw what Deculus looks over there. I think it's time to give Jamari Sawyer that opportunity, which is something we've already seen, and I think that quality of play is better than what we've seen from Deculus.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of that, David, to add on to that is, Jamari Sawyer isn't good at guard. Like, I mean, that's the other part of it, right? Like, it hasn't worked. They tried to move him to guard. They drafted him to be a guard. He hasn't been a good guard, and he really, honestly, to no offense to him, never has been. He's never been graded as a good guard since he started there 2 years ago, since they had to put him out there last season, and since he's had to fill in this season. It just hasn't worked. I'm glad that he had the weight loss journey, and he does look like he's in much better shape. Maybe that will actually help him more as a tackle, because I've seen him get ragdolled a couple times on that lighter body on the offensive line. So you're right. I mean, he did rank 26th in pass blocking grade when you consider there's 64 starting tackles as a rookie. That's pretty darn good. Higher than Penei Sewell as a rookie, which is pretty nuts. That's higher than Penei Sewell that year at least. Also tied for the 5th most pressures allowed. So not perfect, but what is it? Like, it's competent, to your point. You can be competitive with him there, and you have been before in this exact situation with Rashawn Slater going down. So I think absolutely it's worth a shot. What about this one, though? Buy or sell. It's time to give Andre James a shot. The backup center that you signed, maybe it's time to start that guy.
Yes, absolutely it's time, because when you look at it, and I know this is a hard decision because Bradley Bozeman is a captain for this football team. But to be a captain, you can't just be a vocal leader. You have to actually lead by example as well. And the one thing that we all knew Bradley Bozeman brought to the table was the ability to run block, right? And unfortunately, that is not the case this year. He's a 45.1 pass block grade, but only a 47.6 run block grade. So if you can't pass protect very well for me, and you're not opening up the holes that I need you to open up, then what does that say to the other captains that are on the team? Joe Alt, when he's on the field, playing at an exceptionally high level. Derwin James playing out of his absolute mind. Deion Henley playing very high-quality football. Keenan Allen balling as a backup captain. Justin Herbert is Justin Herbert. Don't need to say anything. And Khalil Mack is a first-ballot Hall of Famer. All those guys, when they're on the field, they're playing pretty high-quality football. I cannot say the same for Bradley Bozeman, And so, with that being said, it is time to give the better pass protector the opportunity to start on this football team, because what you have put out there has not worked. It's time for change.
And the one thing that Andre James has been pretty consistently is at least a decent pass protector, right? And it does feel like in Botecuous with Bradley Bozeman, they're leaning for the better run blocking guys, but the metrics haven't shown that those are actually the case, right? I mean, you said it, 30th out of 35 eligible centers in pass blocking grade with at least 50 snaps, right? That's pretty awful, obviously. And then you have the worst offensive grade out of any center in all football. Ranks 30th out of 35 with at least 50 run blocking snaps. 46 out of 46 is what PFF has him at. Out of the metrics I ran it for, 5 or at least 50 snaps or 100 snaps of blocking
dead last
of any kind, it's dead last. If he's already given up 10 pressures this year. He didn't give up 10 pressures last year when we still had our issues with the blocking until week 9. Let that settle in. It took him 9 weeks to give up 10 pressures. He's given up 10 pressures now in 4 games. If him being the worst player that PFF has ever seen, even if you're saying, hey, obviously that's not, the Bible, you don't have to live by PFF grades, but when they're that bad, it's not usually that far off, right? So if that's not good enough to give somebody else a shot, you have the wrong guy backing him up. And that's just really what it is. And you kind of did it to yourself, which we know to an extent they did. But the one thing we can all agree on is that with the pass protection that Justin Herbert's getting right now, they need to do something to not get him hit 50 times next week. And that is running the football, which they should have done more of last week, and they better do more of with this week. And we're getting into that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. If you're looking for something like that, this is exactly where you need to go, because it isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. If you're prescribed, ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to rugiet.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure you use our code so they know that we sent you. David, we still have more buy or sells to get into here, and thank you to all the everydayers that came out in droves for today's show and gave us your buy or sells. We'll be doing a Chargers mailbag. This is what the plan is tomorrow. We'll see what news we get, but might be able to roll some of those over because you guys really had some good ones this week. But thank you, as always, for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen, you have 2 Locked On NFL shows every day with Tyler the Madman Roland and my guy Tony Wiggins in the Barbershop on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from if you want to keep up with everything going on around the league. But David, let's get to this next one that we have here from Steven Sullivan, who says, buy or sell, Greg Roman will wake the F up from his coma and run our awesome first round running back while our pass blocking is down, Joe Alt. You would think so, David. I think it has to be like that. If you like Greg Roman, you've always been a run first guy. If there was ever a time to kind of lean more into that, it would be what we see right now.
I appreciate the fact that you are trying to innovate and change and adjust with the times, but this is the time to go back in time and go back to being medieval, as you like to say, Greg, and that's getting a hat on a hat and running the darn football. Your rookie running back had only 12 carries in that football game, and he went over 100 yards with those carries. Hello, give him more carries. This is not rocket science. It is obvious to see with anybody who is watching the Chargers play football. Omarion Hampton has the it factor. He has that ability to get a crease and take it to the house. That is what he is capable of doing, and that also slows down the pass rush, maintains possession of the football, and helps you score points and play keep away, which you might need to do a little bit right now, maintaining possession, because the Chargers throwing the football is not really the best recipe forward with the offensive line that is in front of him. This is the easiest buy of the day.
It is. And the one thing you didn't say there as far as, it helps against pass rush. It's very hard for Justin Herbert to end up on his back if you're handing it off to Omarion Hampton, right? And I think we all just want to see Justin Herbert stop peeling himself off the ground and, giving a small fist pump as, he completes the ball 25 yards downfield with a man just destroying his face as soon as he lets go of it. But you're right. I mean, to only get 12 carries is crazy. Especially because it's hard for them to find the explosive plays right now downfield because they don't have the protection to let the longer developing routes develop, which is really problematic. And you have a guy in Omarion Hampton that had 3 carries of 19 or more yards last week. That's basically 3 20-plus yard plays plus a 50-plus yard touchdown that you got by putting it in this guy's hand. I think the other part of this is the play action is so much less effective right now because no one's respecting that you're actually going to run it. The book is out. You're going to try to run play action, and especially early in games. The problem is, Greg, they know it because it worked week 1, and Steve Spagnuolo said it. They caught us off guard. It worked a little bit in week 2 as well. He was really good on play action. By week 3, it started to fade. Last week, totally non-existent. He had a play action grade. Justin Herbert did a 47.9 last week after it had been 67 the week before, which is pretty good, above average. 85 the week before that, and 88 in the week 1. He had a passer rating week 1 of 118.8 on play action, 158.3 on play action in week 2. Then you get to week 3, obviously, no offensive protection for Justin Herbert, 67.6, and last week an abysmal passer rating of 50.3. It's not working. You have to make them respect the run again. And hopefully, Omarion Hampton showed the teams, hey, you better watch out for me because I can take it the distance. But that has to be on Greg Roman as well to get it going. So let's get to this one from Better Skip Over Me, who says, buy or sell if we get a huge dose of Omarion Hampton and Kamani Vidal this week against the Commanders. And this one I wanted to use, David, just because it says, and Kamani Vidal, because since Najee Harris got hurt, the rest of the Chargers running backs combined have 0 carries. So obviously they're not giving him 28 carries a game where you're like, okay, well, somebody needs to get a little bit more of that load. But man, it doesn't feel like right now they trust anybody to carry that ball besides Omarion Hampton.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty obvious. That's what they've shown us, right? They don't want to put the hands in anybody else, put the football in anyone else's hands. But I'm all right with them giving more carries to Omarion Hampton, but also you got to keep him healthy and fresh throughout the season as well. You can't just give him 30 carries a game and expect to see the same player in week 3 or week 4 as you're going to see in week 15, 16, 17, right? You have to mix in some of those carries. Somebody's got to tote the rock in addition to Omarion Hampton, but they also have to make sure that they earn that trust of the coaching staff when they do get those opportunities that they're going to make the most of them.
Well, and I think the encouraging thing about this last game was the fact that every big Omarion Hampton run came after Joe Alt left the game. Right? That's an important thing to remember because everyone's like, okay, well, you have a terrible offensive line. How can you run the ball? Well, it worked. They did it. And the Giants defense had been bad against the run for sure, but they set those up well. Shout out Trey Harris, the rookie, 0 catches, but the block of the day, setting up that Omarion Hampton touchdown on that 50-plus yarder. Hampton still had his best game, even with the makeshift offensive line. So, yes, if you're going to commit to the run, somebody else is going to have to get some chunks of those. And those other guys are getting snaps, but they're basically just pass protecting, Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins. And you can't really have that tell either, where it's just like, okay, well, this guy's on the field. I know they're not going to give it to him. And you know how I know? Because they don't ever do it, right? So, right now, I think everyone would be shocked if one of these was just a Hassan Haskins draw, because I think right now, if you see him on the field, they're throwing the football. But let's get to one here before we wrap up, David, from Matthew Dahl, who says, buy or sell, Roman needs to do more screen passes with the running backs in the playbook. I brought it up last week in the Keys for Success. You brought it up in the Keys for Success a couple weeks ago, David. Absolutely. You did one this week, and it worked. You got a first down out of it.
More. Please, more screens. If I could ask the Chargers for anything for my birthday today, it would be to see them run more screens on Sunday against the Washington Commanders, because they need to. The screen game is very effective at getting a playmaker in space with blockers in front and let him do what he does. That's what you want to do. That's more often than not, that's an advantageous play. It also slows down the pass rush because you invite those rushers in and then you just toss it over the top, or you put it in a spot where that running back or receiver, whoever, is going to catch the ball and be able to get upfield in a hurry. That's a good play. We saw it once. We need to see it 6-7 more times in the football game. I think it's something that is obviously going to be effective.
And the thing is, too, about screens, if they catch on to it, that means to an extent it's working. Like, unless you're just super obvious, it means that those pass rushers are at least taking a second to think, okay, well, did I get past this a little too easily? Should I be peeling off to see if a running back's going to be right where I'm leaving, right? Like, there's so many reasons, I think, to do it. Obviously, it works. You're trying to help your offensive line out, and this is one of those things. I mean, out in space, they are going to be better, I think, than just trying to beat people man on man, because they haven't been able to do that. But I think, especially when you're seeing Omarion Hampton and the patience that he's using this last week, letting his blockers set things up for him, more reason to kind of build the game plan around that. Like, until the pass rush unit or pass pro unit is better, I think you have to lean in on his receiving skills. And I mean, early key for success for you. He has a good matchup this week with old Bobby Wagner for sure, who's gotten toasted a couple of times. I'd love to see that matchup with Omarion Hampton. We might see another long touchdown this upcoming week. But the least that the Chargers can do is give David a win on his birthday. Make sure you guys give David a happy birthday. And also, David, I know you will be at the game, and I know you want as many fans as possible to come connect with you and come say hi while you're in town.
It is one of my greatest honors to be able to cover the Chargers and bring content to all of you. I would love the opportunity to meet as many of you as possible, fans of the show. We do not get to do this without your support. So I want to be able to have the opportunity, the honor to say thank you in person.
For sure. And also, David not only doing a show on his birthday, but doing a show on vacation as well. So shout out to David. We appreciate you, of course. And that's the part of this job that a lot of people don't see many times, right? Like, I've recorded podcasts in Hawaii. I've recorded podcasts on my honeymoon in Cancun. Like, the game, the grind, it never stops. And the everydayers are what make it 100% worth it. So thank you for checking out today's show. To make sure you never miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also find the show every day on all of our social media at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. If you guys want to get on tomorrow's Chargers mailbag with your own voice on the show, call into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 and leave us your 30-second Chargers question like a Thier would do, But maybe some Joe Alt news tomorrow. Maybe some Mekhi Becton news tomorrow. We need some good news, but the only daily Chargers podcast that you can go to find the reaction to all of the latest Chargers news. And we'll be back with you guys with that tomorrow. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.